Hello, my name is William James. I'm the host of the Bald Book Geek, a twice weekly video on books, media, movies, and so on. I also host a podcast called The Viking Writer. How are all of you? I have a mic now in my Cave of Doom. I actually have a proper mic stand. Not just a microphone, because I've had this for ages, but an actual mic stand. I've needed one of these. Before we get going, please like, subscribe, and share. All of the links are in the doobly-doo as always, and I want to talk about Lord of the Rings, the Amazon Prime series, which I am somewhat worried about. So, let's start with what I like, and we'll move through what my concerns. So, what I like the casting so far. I'm aware of all the people in it. I've done my research. They actually, there's a bit of talent in there. I like most of the writers. There's some red flags, which is worrying me slightly, and some other stuff. I also like the fact that they're going back to New Zealand and it's set within the continuity of the television series. I'm slightly addicted to my swivelly chair. Hello. So, what is it first? So, what is this series? So, this will take place during the Second Age of Middle-earth, which Tolkien himself touched upon in some extended stuff, some short stories, some poems, and some other things, which is cool, and I'm glad that he did. I like the Second Age. It's an interesting era in the Middle-earth mythos. I don't know any story plots, I don't know any story beats, but we're going to go into it, and I'm going to talk about my concerns. Let's start with my concerns. I am concerned about one of the writers. I won't name her because she doesn't deserve any more attention, but she is one of the horrible SJW Tumblr writers that Marvel hired, and she did a run on She-Hulk which was absolutely terrible. She's talked to one of the key writers on Twitter. I don't know if she's actually involved, so I'll put it that way, but if she is involved, that's a red flag. She's a horrible writer, and she should go back to Tumblr where that kind of trash belongs. Second, I am concerned because just because because they're saying it's canon and chronological doesn't mean they're not going to mess something up. It's set within the continuity of the films, it's canon to the films, but my concern is that we're going to end up with a Hobbit-like situation where you end up with the source material being ripped apart, bits added, tacked on love stories that shouldn't have been there. I mean, in all seriousness, that love story in The Hobbit was awful. I worried that they're going to do things just for brownie points and woke points with certain community online. I've heard some givings that they might be going all The Witcher on us and Game of Thrones, and I love Game of Thrones and I love Witcher, but Lord of the Rings doesn't need sex. Bit of violence, yes, because Lord of the Rings is quite violent. I also worry that they're going to breeze over the mythology. Tolkien wrote a phenomenal world based on Anglo-Saxon, on Norman, on Viking, on countless Celtic mythology. And I'm worried that they're going to breeze over that because woke points again. I also worry that they're going to include things that don't need to be there. And again, this will be done for woke points to appease people online, and that worries me because, I mean, yeah, and at the end of the day, tell a good story. The story should be the focus. I want good world building. I want something big. I want something epic. I want something on the scale and level of that original trilogy of Lord of the Rings, not the Hobbit movies. I'm kind of glad Peter Jackson isn't involved. As much as I adore Peter Jackson, I think he made a lot of mistakes with The Hobbit, and I don't think he really wanted to direct them in the first place, to be completely honest with you. I don't think he wanted to be there, hence the reason the last one especially is quite rushed. And let's not talk about some of the CGI and that weird frame rate that caused me to wanting to throw up. That's fun. No, I mean, for me, I want something big, I want something epic, I want something that's going to tell this story, be it an original story or based loosely on Tolkien's work or bringing elements together. You can do it. Original stories are good. But there are a lot of red flags with certain things and certain people. I worry that it's not going to be great, and I worry that we're going to end up with a whole group of people trashing Lord of the Rings based on if this show is terrible or not. I mean, people already trash Lord of the Rings because, it's problematic because it was written by a dead white guy. I mean, seriously. I mean, well, if they've hired that horrible writer, she's a sexist whatever anyway, so that's being really blunt about it. And I do worry that we're going to end up with a mess. And if it's not as good, or it's not as impactful as they hoped, or it flops horribly, it's going to be people's first taste of a lot of people's first taste of the beautiful and epic Lord of the Rings that is a phenomenal series, and I've made a lot of videos about it. So I'm like, don't mess this up, Amazon. Don't screw this up. You have a lot of stuff riding on this, and if you mess it up, no one is going to like you for it. So I do worry. I do. I hope they don't, and I hope they keep it to the spirit of the original. I mean, Lord of the Rings is a phenomenal series, and Tolkien has a very distinct voice and style, with epic world building, deep characters, and so much going on. And I'm worried we're going to end up with a. I mean, nothing could be as bad as the Chronicles of Shannara, but I mean, I don't think anything could be that awful. But who knows? I love it when my microphone cuts out. As a fan, I'm worried, but we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, we are fans, we love the material, and we don't want people to ruin it. It's not difficult, it's not hard. Just give us something epic and big and make sure it's good. Don't mess this up, Amazon, because a lot of people are going to be very disappointed.